So you can. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin in 5 minutes. Please feel free to take a seat so we can start tonight's forum. We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get started. If you do need translation for Spanish or Amharic, we have a interpretation table in the back. Please go to the back to get translation equipment for English or Spanish.
የአማርኛ ትርጉም የምትፈልጉ ሰዎች ካላችሁ አማርኛ ትርጉም ስለሚቀርብ እዚህ መታችሁ የመተርጎሚያ መሳሪያ መውሰድ ትችላላችሁ። እናመሰግናለን።
Buenas noches. Si alguien necesita interpretación en español, puede venir aquí a buscar los audífonos para escuchar el programa. Gracias.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for showing up today, and really excited. Thank you to our folks who are doing translation simultaneously in Spanish and Amharic. We really appreciate that. If there's any other languages in the room, let Michelle Whitaker know, and we'll try to see if there's some way to accommodate. Welcome to our second Education Budget Forum. I'm Councilmember Will Jawando, the chair of the Education and Culture Committee on the Montgomery County Council, and I'm an at-large member of the council in my second term. And at-large is just a fancy way of saying I represent the whole county. So if you live in Montgomery County, I represent you. And to my right, your left, is Dr. Jermaine Williams, the president of Montgomery College. You can clap for him if you want. And really excited to have him here as well. And to my left, your right, is Dr. Monique Felder, the interim superintendent of MCPS. So we're happy to have her as well. Just a couple of housekeeping items. I want to thank Principal Renee Johnson in her last year for hosting us here at Blair. Let's give her a round of applause. We're going to see if we can convince her to not retire and stay.
Please do.
Dr. Felder agrees. And her whole team, thank you. And I also want to recognize, I don't see any of my colleagues here, but I know there might be some representation from Councilmember Kate Stewart's office and Councilmember Kristen Mink's office. And if I see them at some point, I will. Oh, and I see Councilmember Kristen Mink's Chief of Staff, Chris Wilhelm, so he's there. And my staff, if you're on the Jawando team, please raise your hand. We have a table. Yeah, so if you have any questions, you have a pothole or anything else, you know, we are happy to also address those issues. So that's part of our job as well. So we're here because we know education is important. It's the key to our community. It's the key to our children's future and success, our economic competitiveness. And we need a thriving college career pipeline, you know, and that starts with our babies. It really starts in utero from reading and making sure there's quality prenatal care all the way to college, post-secondary success and career. And certainly K-12 is a big part of that as well. And so we're here to talk about just about half of our budget in the county. We have about a $7 billion budget that the county executive proposed to us last month. And the council is now in the process of reviewing that budget, and we make the final determination on what the budget is. 3.2 billion or so of that is MCPS, a little over 200 million, or a little more than that.
You appropriated everything.
We appropriated.
Everything, like more than 300.
300 total, yeah, so 300 million of that is some combination of state and local funding is Montgomery College. And so it's a big portion of our budget. We also have a CIP, a capital budget, which is about $6 billion, which builds all of our physical infrastructure in the county, so schools, roads, other things that we are also is passed with at the same time with the operating budget. So happy to take questions and comments on any of those items that are in our budget, which is really what builds our community. We made some tough decisions on the capital budget this year to have really what I call truth in budgeting. For a long time, we would tell someone that a school was coming, and then the year would get closer, and then we'd say, oh, sorry, can't do it. And part of that was because we had to pay for other things like maintenance and replacing things. and some systemic things, ADA compliance. And so what we did this year, which is going to hurt before it helps, is we put all that systemic maintenance in the capital budget. And we had to push some projects out as a result. But hopefully now what will happen over time is that when you get a date for your capital project or for your road in your community, it will be a date that you can actually trust, and that's important. As I mentioned, the operating budget is $7 billion. MCPS is about $3.3 billion of that. We are in the midst of having our work sessions for MCPS. We had our first overview last week, or this week? Last week. I forget what day it is. Last week, and we will have 3 more, and on May 1st, we'll make a recommendation to the full council about what the level of MCPS's funding should be. So all the input that you'll give tonight is very timely and will contribute to our conversation and decision. The council, I always like to remind folks on this, particularly as it relates to MCPS, but also the college, we do not decide the policy for MCPS. We have the fiscal authority and oversight. We set a top-line number in broad categories that is appropriated to the school board, which is the elected body that then decides how to use that money. Obviously, there's a relationship between the money we give and the categories and what it's being asked to be used for, and that's why the superintendent recommends a budget and the board approves a budget that is then submitted to the county executive, and then he takes his view and sends it to us. So that's where we are in the process right now. We're going to do a Q&A. We're going to have brief presentations from Dr. Felder and Dr. Williams about overviews of their budget, and that will take 10 to 15 minutes max, and then the rest of the time will be used to field questions, some which were submitted online, and we really appreciate folks who did that. And for the folks who are watching online, thank you for attending. And then we will take questions from the audience from these 2 microphones here. And we also have staff from both the college and MCPS to answer any technical questions. Really appreciate them being here as well. So let's give the staff a round of applause.
Yeah.
They're good. I see my friend Jawando, who is the East County guru, but really appreciate you being here. He runs our East County rec center, not rec center, our East County regional office. Thank you, Jaru. So if you have any questions for him, please see him. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over now to first to Montgomery College, to Dr. Williams, to give his presentation, and then we'll go to MCPS, and then we will start with the question. So, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Jawando. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see everybody. Thank you all for being here, and again, another thank you to Chairman Jawando for having these conversations, and I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here with Dr. Felder and our MCPS families as well. Shout out again, because I definitely must do this, to all the MC students, faculty, staff, alumni who are in the room. Thank you for being here, and all of our partners for being here. We all make it work together. So happy to be at Montgomery Blair High School, and I know that it's one of our homes to a program that we call ACES, which is a program that has had great impact on our county, and it's a great partnership with MCPS, so to get more students through college. And I also know, and I recognize one of our leaders in the room who also provides great support to get our learners and scholars to and through college. So I want to acknowledge. And so next slide, please. Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about Montgomery College, right? And who Montgomery College is, what we do. Appreciate, again, the opportunity. And this is your college, a place where you can find your passion and unlock your potential. Right? That is our mission. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but our mission is right there. It is short. It is succinct. But we aim to provide an opportunity for individuals to transform their lives and enrich the community and change the world. Next slide, please. When we look at MC by the numbers, I'll read a little bit of this just because I know the maybe a little far away, but we serve more than 40,000 students at Montgomery College. We are extremely diverse. We represent about 154 countries. at Montgomery College. We are federally designated as a Hispanic serving institution. For us, that means about 29% of our students identify as Hispanic or Latino. We are the only community college in Maryland that is a federally designated Hispanic serving institution. We are also designated by the federal government, Department of Education, as an Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. Along with that, about 1 in every 4 of our students identifies as Black. So we are extremely diverse, 154 countries, and we take pride in that. And there's other factoids up there. We are throughout the county, all right, from Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, to our Rockville campus, to Germantown campus, to our new East County Education Center that we just opened on Broadbirch Drive at the beginning of this month. We are home and your home to post-secondary education, and we are extremely excited to be there. Our students, just for a little context, they pursue their passions. They become engineers, HVAC technicians, actors, nurses, and so much more. Next slide, please. And I will be brief. There's a lot of words on this slide. When we think about what drives us at Montgomery College, we think about our transformational aspirations. There are 3 of them. They are built around equity and being data informed. They are access, completion, and post-completion success. Right? In an equitable and data-informed way, we want to enhance access to post-secondary education. We want to enhance completion, which means credentials of economic, social, and community value, and we want to enhance post-completion success. That means that individuals leaving Montgomery College will transition to an experience that yields a family-sustaining wage, which lends itself to individual economic and social mobility, which will then portends intergenerational mobility. So those are 3 of the items, huge items, these aspirations that drive us. Next slide, please. And when we talk about access, and I mentioned this, it begins at our campuses, both our physical sites and our virtual sites. And I've shared where we are throughout the county. What I didn't share, and what I would be remiss if I did not share, so I will, is these are state-of-the-art facilities. State-of-the-art classrooms and labs where meaningful teaching occurs and learning for our students and the residents who we seek to serve. This fall, we're actually looking forward at our Tacoma Park, Silver Spring campus, the Catherine and Isaiah Leggett Math and Science Building opening, which is absolutely just, fantastic. So when we think about our facilities, these first-class buildings, they result from public investment. They result from the voice of our public and encouraging public investment, right? They result from the commitment of leaders like Chairman Jawando to say that education, as he said before when we started, is extremely important. So thank you, Chairman Jawando, for that. I have a few more slides as we close out. Next slide. Oh, thank you. Okay, all right. Thank you, thank you. So as we look at the next slide, and I'm going to come to a close and think about expanding access, I did mention the East County Education Center. These are some renderings of the East County Education Center. It is live and in person, so if you want to do more than see renderings, you can come visit the East County Education Center, 2221 Broadbirch, 55,000 square foot facility that's going to increase the number of IT professionals, nurses, education professionals for our county right here in East County. So this education center is also a first step to our 4th campus at Montgomery College, and that planning is underway. Next slide, please. How are we tracking now? All right. When we think about access to meaningful credentials, no matter what campus, which center, or online, or a hybrid, a mix of those, as I mentioned, students find their passions and they become actors, nurses, engineers, cybersecurity techs, information system specialists, auto technicians, and so much more. The list could go on and on and on. Next slide, please. These are some of our alumni. I'm just going to let that resonate for a moment or two. These are some of our many alumni who exemplify the very meaning of post-completion success. And to add a fine point to this, These are individuals who, they live here, they work here, they help our county thrive. This is very important in terms of investing in Montgomery College and what we contribute back to our community. Next slide, please. Again, when we think about where our alumni start, so many of our alumni, they start in high school, right? Tomorrow's alumni are starting in places and spaces like the awesome place that we're in, Montgomery Blair High School, right? An MC degree actually doesn't need to wait for a high school diploma. I know this is one of our favorite events of the year that we attend a few weeks before the actual MCPS high school graduation ceremonies. We have a ceremony where we acknowledge the hundreds of MCPS students who earn their associate's degree a few weeks before they earn their MCPS high school diploma. So it's fantastic, and these individuals are earning their degree as IT professionals and behavioral health experts and entrepreneurs and cloud computing. So something, again, that we're very, very proud of and we want to amplify. As we go into the next slide, and our last, one of our last slides, we talk about making our mission real. And I know people are maybe saying, well, this is a budget committee meeting. Well, I haven't really heard anything about numbers. What I just shared provides our fiscal plan, right? This is how we make everything a reality. The places and spaces, the public investment, what we do for students, what we do for community members. We align our resources to accomplish the key priorities that I just mentioned. And we do that also with a mindset toward fiscal prudence, right? We seek flat funding, no new county dollars in FY25. We do this in affordable post-secondary education. So not only are we seeking flat funding, our budget, that means that our tuition and fees will remain flat, right? No increase for our students. That is a third time in 4 years at Montgomery College. And then when we think about, it also provides the budget that we are requesting approval, requires much needed compensation adjustments for the awesome faculty and staff who are making the dreams of our students come true, and the awesome individuals out there who we want to attract and retain, who will help to make the dreams of our students and the residents we seek to serve come true. So as I close out on this penultimate slide, I will say thank you very, very, very much. Our capital budget, we're looking at renovating buildings such as the theater arts building, which is imperative. This project gives students access to updated classrooms and labs to meet students' academic needs. It is almost 60 years old. The electrical, the plumbing, HVAC systems need to be replaced. Chairman Jawando is, as always, taking a huge leadership role and finding out, different ways that this could be possible, and really seeking to be as supportive as possible to move education forward. And I'm deeply appreciative of that. We're also, our Germantown Student Services Center will give students easy access to the services they need in one building, which is critical. And then the budget launches a planning for a full-service campus in East County, which I mentioned a little earlier. So we're thankful of those funds in the capital budget and really excited about the support and continued conversation by Chairman Jawando. In closing, with this next slide, I'll start with how I finished. Our driving components are around these three transformational aspirations, which are really looking in an equitable and data-formed way about access, creating a college-going culture, and enhancing the number of students and residents who actually avail themselves of the wonderful opportunity at Montgomery College. Completion, ensuring that those opportunities have economic, social, and community value, and post-completion success. Also ensuring that when individuals leave, they're going to opportunities that provide a family-sustaining wage and the ability for individual economic and social mobility. So on that note, and this is the last slide, our students of tomorrow they're ready to change the world. And we are deeply proud of that. And I look forward to the continued shared work of Councilmember Jawando and Dr. Felder. And so with that, I will close, and I hope that I was able to get that out. I know I was speaking a little fast, so I slowed down, so hopefully it was okay at the end. So thank you, Chairman Jawando.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Let's give Dr. Williams a round of applause. And I'm told thank you very much. I'm told we have a special brief treat from are we ready for that? All right, we're ready for that. So all of our high schools and do great performances, and Oliver will be the performance here at Blair coming up. They're gonna have 4 shows, I believe. Principal, 7 shows? 7 shows, because they sell out. So we're gonna get a preview and just get to see the folks that are participating in Oliver. So come on out.
Wow.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah. I with 2 of them. 2. Yeah. It's probably not everybody, too.
All right. One more time for the cast of Oliver. Good job, good job. They're excited too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So come see the show. When does it start?
Friday.
Friday. All right. Friday at 7 is the first show. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Well, beat that, Dr. Felder.
Well, I don't know that I can.
So we're going to now turn to Dr. Felder to give an overview of our MCPS budget. And I'm going to filibuster here to let them clear out a little bit. But no, that was awesome. And I also wanted to thank all of our educators who are here, either college or MCPS. Could you stand so we can acknowledge you? Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate all the work that you do. And I know we have some of our union partners here too, so thank you for being here as well. We appreciate you. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you now, Dr. Felder.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Jawando, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Williams. A special shout out tonight to our students who are here, and I want to acknowledge you. And Principal Renee, we may need an 8th show, so just think about that. And so most grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you about funding for public education in Montgomery County. So always like to begin by providing some context, right? And so here you will see MCPS at a glance. So each day, our 26,000 staff serve more than 160,000 students across 211 schools and programs. And to enhance academic achievement, we focus 80% of our budget on schools, and 20% supports school operational needs. And so just a note, I'm sure most of you know this, but Montgomery County Public Schools is the largest school district in Maryland, but we also have, I believe, the second smallest central office. And so I just wanted to give you that context. But what you'll see on this slide certainly speaks to our evolving demographics with regards to our community and the students we serve. And we know that the more diverse we are, the more diverse needs that there are. And so MCPS prioritizes meeting the diverse needs of all of our students, regardless of their background. We know that all students can learn and achieve at high levels. And such a large and diverse student population has and sometimes presents challenges. And so one example would be in the increase in the number of students as noted here with the lunch bags, the poverty as measured by families who qualify for free and reduced price meals. And for those of you who don't know, to qualify through farms, a family of four, the maximum allowance is $39,000. And we know that there are families of four that may earn more than that, but still struggle to provide nutritious meals for their families. And this increase in the number of children who qualify for free and reduced price meals has increased since the pandemic. Other examples include increase in the number of students who speak another language, as well as the number of students who receive special education services. We also recognize that teaching is a people business. And so as much technology advances that there are, such as artificial intelligence, I can assure you that AI or no other form of technology can ever replace a high-quality teacher. We know from best practice and the research, it is the number one, teachers are the number one influencers or factor for student achievement. So we need outstanding human beings in our classrooms teaching our students. And so due to national enrollment decline in secondary education, I understand from a recent article in NEA that we lost 500,000 educators from the field of education, and their number one reason was salaries. And so we must continue to attract top talent, not only attract top talent in Montgomery County Public Schools, but also retain top talent. And in order to do that, one of the things that matters are salaries and benefits. They're not separate, they go hand in hand. And so that's what makes for supportive environments, and that will ensure that Montgomery County maintains its distinction as a destination that teachers and other staff want to be part of. The Board of Education, the county executive, and the county council's commitment to maintaining promised salary increases reflects our collective dedication to recruiting, and as I said, also important, it's one thing to get staff in, but we also want to maintain our staff and high quality staff at that. So again, it's not just about the salary increases that are needed, but the benefits as well. And this, plus excellent curricular materials and programs, makes for a vibrant, exciting place for our staff to work, but it does come at a cost. Next slide, please. And so we're often asked, well, are you getting a return on the investments that have been made in Montgomery County schools? And the answer to that question is yes, as evidenced by what's on this slide here. So our recent investments in schools is an investment in our student success. This is evident in improved literacy and mathematics performance. Are we where we want to be or need to be? Absolutely not. But we are inching in the right direction and need to accelerate our efforts. It is also evident in the numerous student achievements, such as national rankings of MCPS high schools and scholarships earned by students. Next slide, please. For example, MCPS has 5 Regeneron Science Talent Search Scholars, 13 Quest Bridge Scholars, 16 students who received full tuition POSSE scholarships, nearly 200 students who will receive Rails O'Neill scholarships next month, and so many more. In the Newsweek rankings of American public high schools for 2023, MCPS continues to show its excellence as 5 high schools are in the U.S. top 500 and 8 high schools are in Maryland's top 30. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. And let me give you some more context. There are 14,000 school districts in the United States, so that says a lot. Also, a key operating budget initiative has received national recognition, and that's the work of our social work team. They are recognized for the 2024 Magna Award from the National School Boards Association. So the MCPS social work team has been lauded for their vital work in supporting our students, supporting nearly 4,700 in fiscal year 2023, and they are servicing even a larger number, larger caseload this year. So we need to continue making investments to keep the momentum going. Next slide, please. Investment in our students, staff, and district needs, including resources for the continuingly previously mentioned post-pandemic recovery. We need additional investments for professional development. And so just imagine losing 500,000 teachers from the profession across the country. We are still grateful that we are able to attract and retain, but teachers, like every other staff person, needs their capacity to grow and develop, and we do that by providing professional development, ongoing professional development. Much like athletes need coaches, we need coaching too. And it takes about 5 years to become a master teacher. There are operational costs, and meeting the Maryland Blueprint requirements are essential for maintaining this excellent school system. So full funding of this budget is absolutely crucial for addressing these challenges and pursuing student academic success. The prudent budget does not ask for more than is necessary, but represents what is required and no more. Next slide. So therefore, the identified priorities or key investments that are proposed for fiscal year 2025's operating budget are as follows: to provide a high-quality education for a diverse student population, and we welcome our diversity, which requires additional services. Secondly, to continue recovery from the impact of the pandemic. So yes, we're back, but we are still on the road to recovery from the impact of the pandemic on our students' academic and social emotional well-being. Third, investments to offset the loss of federal emergency dollars, also known as ESSER, are also referred to as the ESSER cliff. So those funds dry up in September 2024. We want to continue to provide the promised salaries and benefits to allow MCPS to continue to attract, recruit, and retain high quality and a diverse workforce that reflects the students and families and community that we serve. And we have had to budget for the increased cost of goods and services, inflation. So, next slide, please. So as we think about investing in Montgomery County Public Schools, we have to think about the economic impact. And so we know that an investment in our schools is actually an investment in this county. A recent economic analysis demonstrates that significant impact of MCPS on Montgomery County's economy. This analysis, conducted by Dr. Fuller with George Mason University in September 2023, showed that MCPS generates $3.68 billion in economic activity annually in this county, and every single dollar spent by MCPS in Montgomery County generates $1.45 in county economic activity. So as one of the largest employers in the county, it is important to understand there truly is a return on the investment we make in this school system. Next slide. So we look forward to the discussion this evening and to our continued collaboration to build the best operating budget for the best system in Maryland, and that is Montgomery County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Felder. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Now we are going to transition to the Q&A portion. There were, I appreciate all the parents, caregivers, students, educators, and community members who submitted comments online ahead of time. So we're going to mix in those as well with folks in the room. There are 2 microphones, as you see here. So if you have a question, you can begin to line up there, and if not, I will start with the online pre-submitted questions that I think may answer based on some hot topics that we've been hearing about over the last several weeks. When you do ask your question, just please ask a question, and you know, as opposed to giving a monologue. I know we saw the actors, but we don't want to do that tonight. So this one is a big one that we hear about a lot, and I'm going to start with this one. This was a question that was submitted online, and I think we'll start with you, Dr. Felder. And I wanted to mention, you mentioned those 5 high schools. There are about 25,000 high schools in the country, public high schools. So to have 5 of our 25 in the top 500 out of 25,000, just to give context of that. We're, again, not where we want to, we always can do better, but,
That's right.
but that's a significant, and to be the 15th largest school district in the country, which we are. One of the questions that we hear about a lot, what specific initiatives or resources are being allocated to support the needs of high school students, particularly in areas such as mental health support and access to support for advanced coursework or vocational training programs? Dr. Felder, I know you have some of your staff here, but if you want to start with that one.
I do, and I'm going to ask them to start heading over to the mic to chime in. And so that's a great question, and I see your sign. You're absolutely correct. Restorative justice certainly supports that effort to ensure that our students are, that their needs both academically and social-emotionally are addressed. Those 2 go hand in hand because we focus on the whole child, but there are a number of positions in schools, certainly starting with our classrooms and our classroom teachers, and the relationships that they have with students means a lot. We have school counselors, and we have a number of partners in the district that also work with us, as well as central office staff, in ensuring that the needs of our students are met. And so, if you want to add to that, I would appreciate it.
Good evening. I'll leave this here. So thank you, Dr. Felder. So just to answer that question, in terms of our students who are venturing into advanced placement courses for the first time, we are really excited. We have 19 high schools that are engaged in our Equal Opportunity Schools program, meaning that students receive support to ensure that once they are courageous enough to engage in advanced course, that they have support there to actually be successful. We also, in terms of our AP courses, we are providing and increasing the number of students who have access to AP seminars. So that's a way for students to engage and to prepare for higher level AP courses in 11th and 12th grade. We're offering that as an elective, and we're also offering it as a 10th grade English AP class. So that's something for students, and we're hoping to expand that to more schools. In terms of our career and technical education programs, we are really excited. We have 51 career and technical education programs throughout our high schools. And what we're doing with our programs is really making sure that students are not just experiencing work-based learning and are engaging in their instruction through hands-on experiences in areas that are interesting to them outside of school. But we really, in accordance with the blueprint, want to make sure that students have access to certificates when they get out of school, so they can actually start working if they want to. We want to make sure that students have access to industry-recognized credentials, because one thing that we're hearing a lot from students today is that so many of them are economically responsible. So they're asking that we help them find a way to access college courses, whether it's through dual enrollment that's covered by MCPS through single classes, or by going as far as getting their associate's degree. And many of our students are telling us they want to work and be able to put themselves through college, and they're asking that we support them with that. So we feel with many of our career and technical education programs, it allows for that flexibility and for that fluid pathway where students can take coursework, get their certificates, get the advanced courses, and then have options once they finish high school.
Thank you. Could you just introduce yourself so people know who you are?
Absolutely. So my name is Irina LaGrange. I'm the Director of College and Career Readiness and District-wide Programs for MCPS.
Great.
And I'd like to invite Dr. Donna Redmond-Jones to speak to, she may have stepped out for a moment, but maybe when she comes back. She is one of our directors of schools, and so she works in support of schools and can really speak to the social emotional wellness side of the work that we're doing.
We'll come back to that on the mental health piece. Obviously, the ESSER funding that we're going to deal with funded a lot of the social workers, some of the school psychologists and counselors. That's something that needs to stay and needs to be expanded. So I know we all agree on that. We have to do that. All right, let's turn to, since there are people at the mic, I will turn to the mics. So I think you were there first, so I'm going to go with you. Just introduce yourself. And I should amend my last statement. Ask a question, but if you have something that you say, I want you to do X, you can make that suggestion as well. So I don't want me to say you shouldn't do that. This is a forum, so you can do that. Just do it concisely. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you, Councilmember Jawando. My name is Kendall Watson. I'm a resident of Kensington, Maryland, and I have a middle schooler at North Bethesda Middle School. I just also want to thank Montgomery Blair High School, which I believe is the largest by student population in the state of Maryland, for hosting this forum. And the performance that we saw tonight, which I really kind of tease off my question really well. I also, Dr. Williams, thank you very much for your presentation, which I noticed highlighted the performing arts, which I think is very important to our the education of our young people. And I see Montgomery Blair is doing a great job. I hope that the future schools that are planned for our county, Crown and Woodward, also see a benefit like that. My understanding, Councilmember Jawando, is that the auditoriums that are planned for Woodward and for Crown are slated to be cut with an indefinite. They're not scheduled. It's delayed indefinitely at this point. I think that's a terrible idea. I just want to know, Councilmember Jawando, will you commit to reversing the Board of Education's decision to eliminate funding for the auditoriums at Woodward and at Crown tonight?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm going to ask Mr. Adams to come up to the mic in just in preparation for this. So the county council, just by way of process, we do program the CIP, but we cannot tell the school system what to do with the money. They make that, the school board is elected to decide that. Now they come to us and say, here's what we want to do, and we say, okay, well, here's the money we'll give you. But for example, after we pass this budget, they're going to have to meet afterwards based on how much we give them to decide how they allocate that funding. So just so you know, even if the majority of the council said, do this, now it's a strong suggestion, they sometimes, most of the time listen, but it depends. But we, just so you know, they're duly elected. We cannot tell them to do that, just so you know that. However, I know, and I'll let the school system, Dr. Felder, and then she can kick it to her staff, to Mr. Adams, who does facilities. I mentioned the $6 billion capital budget. That's across every transportation project, every school, everything for the whole county. It's not enough to meet the needs of things that are in the capital budget.
Can I just add one thing? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just took a look at my phone, Googled school systems can't fund auditorium, and up came school systems in Mallet City, Idaho, Charles City, Iowa, Washington Courthouse, Ohio. Do we want to join that group of?
No,
yeah.
I get your point, and it's a fair question, and I'm going to turn it to what I'm just trying to tee up to you is that there are a lot of things that we would like to do that we don't have the funding for. And the county council's role is to levy taxes, and we had to raise property taxes last year to fund the school system. I do think it's an open question of what do we want and when do we want it and how do we want to pay for it. There are obviously cost accelerators, but I'll turn to the school system to answer the specific question about Woodward and Crown.
Yes, and so Mr. Seth Adams is here. He is Associate Superintendent. And so, Mr. Adams, can you speak to the CIP and why the decision was made to delay the auditoriums?
Sure. So, and this is a question that we've talked through with our Board of Education on multiple occasions. But the idea around here is that not necessarily we're not going to build an auditorium. The idea is that we wanted to start the construction process so that we can finish on time. This is very similar to different approaches we've had around, let's say, Poolsville High School, so that if we don't have enough money to fund the entire project, we either don't start or we look for ways to break it down into pieces that we're able to start with. So, for example, the auditoriums that you referenced at Crown and Woodward, yes, we made a recommendation to move forward with the full project until we're able to secure funding for the auditoriums. We have plans. We're working through a variety of different options that, hopefully we'll be able to secure funding through different innovative ways so that those auditoriums will open when those schools open. But this will allow us to start the projects versus wait until the entire project, including auditoriums, is funded to start. So these projects are, excuse me, I'm fighting a little cold here. These projects are capacity projects, meaning they're intended to resolve, the overutilization at schools like Blair, schools like WJ, schools like Einstein. In the Crown service area, we have Richard Montgomery, we have Quince Orchard, we have a variety of schools. So the goal was we have to start so that we can finish them and open them. We have the ability, we have the time to be able to secure funding and still open those auditoriums on time. But this is a process, this is a path forward so that we can start and maintain those completion dates.
So I just want to, don't leave, Mr. Adams, because this comes up a lot. You heard there, when is Woodward scheduled to open?
In 2027.
2027. So we do the CIP every 2 years, a full CIP. So there'll be another full CIP in 2026. We can also make amendments to it, add to it in off years, so like next year. To Mr. Adams' point, I think what you heard him say twice was that, not promising, but that there's a goal, or at least they're open to trying to find a way to have the auditorium open at the same time as the school opens. But the money isn't there today. So obviously that could change if the taxpayers rise up and say, we want to get more things built, so get more, fund this, put more money into the CIP. But just to give you that context, it's not that the desire isn't there, it's just that they had to move forward with the capacity project to relieve the capacity in the schools. And they also have some other ideas, maybe if you want to mention, about how you're going to handle theater arts and other things in the interim if it isn't open on day one.
Sure. So as we're navigating, again, the Woodward project is intended to be a swing space, meaning a temporary school for Northwood. So we've built in different performing art spaces. We're obviously working very closely to figure out where sort of partner schools can be to do some of the larger performances from an auditorium. But just one piece I would just go back to clarify. So these are 3-year projects. The auditorium takes about a little over a year to build. So again, that's part of where we're at, is that if we start, we're very confident that we'll be able to work within the overall CIP and different scenarios, including public-private partnerships, to be able to secure the funds to have these auditoriums open on time. And to Councilmember Jawando's point, you know, as we go into the second round of the CIP, as we're not finished until necessarily May, it starts up again in July and August. So that the conversations around what those funding scenarios will look like will start happening in a couple months. But the idea is that this 3-year project, you know, it takes about a little over a year to build an auditorium, that we'll be able to secure the funding in time to be able to open these. But yes, there are a variety of different approaches to be able to solve this. And again, a school like Wheaton, the auditorium was one of the last pieces to be built on that particular school. So as that process went through, you know, the construction of the new building, transitioning from the old building, there was a time period without auditoriums, and so we're accustomed to navigating that to minimize the impacts on students, and obviously we'll apply that to any situation that comes up in the future. But I do feel very confident we'll be able to figure out the funding and open these auditoriums when the schools open in 2027.
Thank you very much.
Pretty satisfied with that, hopefully.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, just one thing I'd add is I just want to make sure I understand this right. It'll open as a holding school for Northwood, but there'll be no auditorium. There'll be alternative spaces like the Black Box Theater. That's built in.
That's
Is
correct,
That,
yes.
Okay, that's a small theater. It's like 100-ish.
So the performance can handle a variety of different configurations with audiences up to over 130, 135. But we are looking to partner with neighboring schools in the Down County Consortium, because that is, you know, from a distance perspective, we want to make sure families are able to come to performances and not have to drive to the Woodward facility. So there's a variety of things that we are already working through, because this is not a new plan. This was the plan that was initiated about 5 years ago. So these are things that we've been navigating for many years, and we're just to the point now where we're starting to solidify what schools will be the partner schools, and obviously what the schedules will look like for those performances.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
the
you very
question.
much.
Thank you. All right.
Just a reminder for folks that we do have, since we have interpretation here and sign language, thank you. We want to make sure as you're speaking to slow down so that the interpreters have enough time to translate what you're saying. But thank you very much.
All right, we got a long line in here, so we'll do a couple more in here, and then we will get back to the online questions. Yes, sir.
Thank you, and good evening to all, and good evening to the distinguished panel. My name is Mark Sweeting. I'm a former principal out of New York City, the South Bronx, New York City, and New Haven, Connecticut. And I'm grateful to be a new resident of Clarksburg, Maryland. So I'm just want to let that be known. I'm grateful to be here. And I want to let something else be known with my 30 years of experience as a building leader and as a teacher. To have 5 schools on the Newsweek 2023 survey is incredible. And I don't think that people really recognize that. That is an incredible feat in one of the largest districts in the nation. So congratulations. That is an incredible feat. And I think we all should give another round of applause. This work does not come easy. But my question, to get to the bottom of things, is we talked about health and wellness, and we talked about post-pandemic. But in general, not just post-pandemic, is there a systematic district-wide program that addresses students' health and wellness? For example, meditation, exercise, and possibly journal entries. And if there isn't, I would like to suggest one as I'm finishing up my dissertation called the EMR program. However, this is real. Exercise, meditation, and reflection before any academic start. And if we don't have something like that, I would like to know if we would like to invest in something like that for our student body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Felder, and then I think that might be a way to back into the previous question.
Yes, there is, and she's here now. So Dr. Redmond-Jones, if you would head over. So, sir, first of all, thank you for that. I can tell you that there are a variety of strategies and programs and services that are in being employed in our schools to meet the diverse mental health and social emotional wellness needs of our children. I'd like to invite Dr. Donna Redmond Jones, who is a director. So she works with a number of schools in our district, and she can speak to exactly what is happening with regards to that. But thank you.
Absolutely. So I wanted to start with the question that I missed earlier. I was stepping out in another meeting regarding the budget, this budget, and the mental health resources. And we did prioritize including in the budget request our psychologists, our social workers, and increased numbers of restorative justice specialists, coaches, and we really heard that. So during the time when students and families were sharing their thoughts with the Board of Education for Montgomery County Public Schools, we really heard how essential it was to have those social workers, the restorative justice coaches and specialists being able to be there to help teach proactively, so we don't approach things in a punitive way when we need to be able to approach things in a way that address skills and the mental health pieces. And so we'll really see that reflected in this budget. And in terms of some of the additional ideas, we also, through educating through our health education curriculum, for example, teach specific strategies in terms of the mental health. So it's really got to be approached in a multifaceted way, both through the curriculum that we are accessing, as well as investing in the people who are really teaching the strategies. Because as we know, the pandemic really exacerbated the mental health concerns and just basic things in terms of how to resolve conflicts and how to interact with people. And so the restorative justice coaches, our social workers, really provide those essential pieces in supporting our students within our schools.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to an online one, then I'll go back to the mics. We'll do it that way, one, and then we'll go back. To Dr. Williams, one that came in, there are some high school students who are in dual enrollment programs at Montgomery College need transportation to go to campus. What transportation options does the college and the county offer? I can do the county part, you can do the college part. And how can we help more students enjoy dual enrollment and support students who are living in low-income housing?
Thank you, Chairman Jawando, and thank you for the individual or individuals who submitted those questions. We're extremely proud of the dual enrollment program. We're also continuing to learn, right? So we want to hear from the voices of the individuals who are experiencing the dual enrollment program. We've seen increases in the dual enrollment program. There's more than 2,000 students in the dual enrollment program this year. And what I'm hearing with this question is that there's a need and potentially an unmet need. I will share that we do have a shuttle at Montgomery College, a shuttle that goes to all of our locations. So that is something that all of our students can avail themselves of. And there's other wraparound services that we do have, which also apply to our dual enrollment students. Before Chairman Jawando hits on transportation at the county level, I know there's a second question asked about housing. I'd love for those students or those families to contact us directly and contact me directly to hear more about that need. That is a need that is extremely challenging in post-secondary education. What we do currently is we work with individuals in the community who help individuals find housing, right? So that is essentially what we would do. We are a point of connectivity. We do not have housing at Montgomery College, so we don't essentially offer it in that way, but we do provide support to help identify through community organizations what that possibility could be. Again, appreciate that question.
And I'll just add quickly, a few years ago, I was proud to be part of the council when we made Ride On free for everyone 18 and under. And I know we have some students in here that have probably taken advantage of that. It's now also free for our seniors, and it's now $1 for everyone else. So we're working our way towards really trying to make that, at the same time, looking at all the routes to make sure that it's running more efficiently, it's going to the places where people are, where they want to go, and that there's a process called Ride On Reimagined, which was just released, talking about kind of the reevaluation of where the stops are. So those are some of the things we're doing around transportation. I'm going to go back to the mics now, so I'll start with you, young lady.
Good evening. My name is Junie Kim, and I'm a sophomore at Watkins Mill High School. I would like to start off with thanking Councilmember Will Jawando for being such a great advocate for issues that affect youth. I'm the president of Young People for Progress, where we are trying to increase civic engagement for young people aged under 35. My question is for Superintendent Felder. Thank you for recognizing how important RJ is to MCPS. We at YPP couldn't agree more. Especially with the cut of ESSER funds, we would love to meet with you to further discuss how critical RJ is for students and how it can shrink the school-to-prison pipeline. We know you've been adjusting to the position and may have missed our email about it. No worries, I know it's a big job, and would you be able to meet with Young People for Progress high school student leaders to discuss these important issues?
First and foremost, thank you so much for being here tonight, and clearly I missed your email. So what a way to go to bring that to my attention, but absolutely yes, I would welcome that opportunity. So I'll talk to you afterwards about how you can skip the email and we can make that happen.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great question. You're using that advocacy well. You get someone in
Yes,
front of you,
indeed.
put them on the spot. You know about that, Reardon.
Yeah.
You know about that. And I will say, I've been visiting all the clusters. We have 25 high schools, 25 clusters. So I visit the high school and several schools within the cluster, elementary and middle. And our largest middle school in the county is Julius West. Yeah, Julius West. And we were there a few months ago. And I just always ask the principal and the school leaders, if you had a magic wand, what would you want? What could we do for you to help make the experience for students, families better? And no preconditions, I don't direct them anywhere. And at the largest high school in the county with a very diverse population, the answer from that principal was a full-time restorative justice coach. And it backs up data that we've seen that in schools that have that full-time person, 80%, it's a less than 80% of those students do not have recidivism. They don't do the activity again. And so it is working, and I'm glad the school system put it in their budget. It's something I'm hoping we can find a way to fund. I'm going to go here, and then we'll go back online.
Hi, my name is Travis Vomerhausen. I have a sophomore at Northwood High School. So Northwood next year is going into Woodward. We were just informed, the community heard last week, that previously the school was going to be without athletic facilities for 1 year, and now it's 2 years. It also sounds like the school day is starting 20 minutes earlier, which means kids are going to be getting up around 6 a.m., possibly earlier. And of course, the auditorium issue. So in a situation like this, when the school's not ready and the kids are going to be the ones who sort of bear the brunt, did they ever consider pushing it back until the school's actually ready to go? Or is that something like if it did get pushed back that the Northwood construction would then be pushed off like 10, 20 years? Like, I'm just curious. I don't really understand how it works, and I would love to hear. So I guess.
Yeah, we got Mr. Adams, you're up again.
Adams.
Dr. Felder, do you want to say anything before we go?
No, I appreciate your question and your concerns. Know that we are working hard to ensure that the process is a smooth one, and that the concerns that have been raised to date are addressed. We understand while we have plans, they certainly need to be worked on further, so I certainly acknowledge that, but we want to get it right, sir. And so hearing from our community members is important. And so, Mr. Adams, can you just elaborate a bit on what we're doing to help make this right?
Sure, and I'll try not to go too deep into it, but there's definitely some history on this one. We started out many years ago talking about Northwood, had some Northwood community meetings, really, focusing on the importance of a new building. So one of the ideas that came forward from that discussion was, okay, we have this large capacity challenge, So what if we take advantage of the fact that we know we need to do something at Northwood and couple it with a larger capacity? So we're adding significant more students at Northwood. Because of that, at that time, that discussion really forced us to think about an alternative location. The Woodward facility was one that obviously was in the pipeline. We're talking about building that for capacity. So the idea was like, okay, let's take advantage of a brand new building and be able to move the Northwood students over temporarily while their building's being constructed. So at the very beginning, there was always sort of this idea, this discussion that there would be a phase one for Woodward and then a phase two. Phase one being when Northwood came, just prepare the base building while we continue to build out phase two. And Ms. Cunningham is here, who's a neighbor next door to the Woodward. So a big part of that was discussing what phase two would look like. We had conversations, would it even have athletic fields? Would, where were locations gonna be? So the idea that there would be construction while Northwood was there really was very early on discussed. And so the good thing about that, because I know there's some challenges with construction on site, but the good thing is that from the beginning of Woodward, we knew that students were gonna be on there. So, the idea of how we constructed it, where locations of construction access and all these pieces would be has been really thought through. The challenge is, you're correct. The fields, we knew we were going to be a year without fields. We knew we were going to be at a minimum a year without the auditorium. Some of these delays are stretching that out. We're working with contractors, particularly around the fields, to see what can we bring online as early as possible. What can we do in the interim? But yes, you're correct. That 1 year is transitioning to a bit longer. So, I know as families, we're going to continue to talk about what that means. We're outlaying the plans around the athletic facilities. We're outlining plans here in the foreseeable future around the auditorium. But as Dr. Felder said too, we're going to really focus on making sure that experience for Northwood students is positive as possible. But stopping now really just doesn't make sense for Northwood or for the Down County Consortium. Because again, that is another part of the capacity solution. We really need Northwood open at the same time as Woodward to solve the capacity. Boundary studies, the boundary scope was approved so that the boundaries will be in place for that 2027 opening. So there's a lot of pieces that are tied to these schools opening that we have to continue forward. But we are committed to making sure this is as safe as possible for the Northwood students, is that it's a positive experience. I think when we're able to tour the Woodward facility, you're going to be blown away with what that facility looks like. It's just going to be a sneak preview for what you'll come back to at Northwood. But we will continue to work very closely with families and students to make this as smooth as possible a process that we can.
Oh, it also sounded like there was a challenge with parking for students and teachers. So I don't know if that's being addressed too. I know it's the same, probably going to be the same answer, but.
No, actually, so when Northwood goes in this summer, they'll have more parking than what they even have at their current facility. Oh, okay. So we will. I heard wrong. We will be adding parking. The foreseeable future will be adding parking because the Woodward facility is going to be larger, just similar to Northwood. As we build the capacity, the parking gets bigger. But when Northwood transitions over, they will have more spots than what they currently have at the Northwood facility.
Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming out. We're going to stick in the room because we got a lot in the room, and I want to get these lines down. So let's go. You coming up, young man? Are you here? Yeah, come on up. And then, sir, you'll be next. Yep.
Hi, my name is Daniel Conte. I'm a student. I'm a 10th grade student at Seneca Valley High School. Councilmember Jawando, thank you for being a great student advocate, and Dr. Felder, thank you for supporting restorative justice. I agree that RJ is important because, it is effective at shrinking the school-to-prison pipeline, yet the council is now considering a budget proposal that would cut restorative justice coach stipends and 3 RJ specialist positions. Would you commit to adding more funds to the MCPS budget so that we can keep these important staffing positions?
That is my intention as the chair. I'm one of 3 votes on the Education Committee. The county executive sent us a budget that was $55 million less than the school's request. There's also a challenge with the employee benefit fund for the school system that we're now having to try to figure out, which costs more money. And so we're working through the process, but as I just stated a minute ago, I know RJ works. I've seen it in the lives of my own children who've been a part of those processes, and I think the system also agrees. I'll let Dr. Felder speak for herself as far as the request, but I don't think we need to take steps backwards. So for my part, I will be working towards that. Dr.
Yes.
Felder wants to add.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your request. It certainly is aligned with a priority that we have in the district. And so with the funding, we can certainly maintain and increase the number of restorative justice staff that we have in our schools to better serve our children. So thank you.
Thank you. And good job asking the question. You got a little nervous there. Yes, yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Tony Sanders, and I'm a math teacher over at Magruder High School. And I'm also the sponsor for the Magruder Colonels Chess Club. And what I want to talk to you tonight about is perhaps synergy and a way for different departments within Montgomery County perhaps could cooperate to provide opportunities for more students, more MCPS students, to play chess. I have become sort of the point person for an organic group of chess presidents here at Blair, at Churchill, at students at Einstein, Richard Montgomery, Magruder, ourselves, and one other school. And the idea is to create an MCPS chess league. This is what they're asking, and I got all the emails. And so I'm happy to do this, but I'm not exactly sure how we can do it. Getting space in a school on a weekend is very difficult to do. I would respectfully say that there's probably space in the central office building around the Board of Education. It might be a space that could be used. The libraries and maybe the Department of Recreation has space. I don't know how that would work. So I'm actually asking for some kind of spirit of synergy and cooperation between the different governmental agencies that might be involved. Something like that would work. This isn't just me. As I'm saying, there are a lot of students who are trying to play chess, and we could have it expand beyond high schools into middle schools. So there's a way to get past red tape, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
That'd be good.
Thank you for that. And I'll see if Dr. Felder wants to say anything, but it's a great idea, and I learned how to play chess as a young person, and as I mentioned to you before, my daughter is plays in a middle school chess club in MCPS, and they're kind of organic, as you said right now, but I think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I second that. I think it's a great idea as well. I think about the critical thinking skills, problem solving, and all the other skill sets that engagement brings. And so would love to engage with you to discuss this further. Certainly space should not be an issue. That we can work out with 211 schools and only God knows how many other buildings, right? Space should not be an issue. Yeah.
Just speak to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I got very supportive feedback from the ECA, from extracurricular activities. So,
okay.
Great.
Good. Yep, there's some synergy there. Thank you.
Awesome. And then don't forget Montgomery College. We've got to take the chess game all the way up.
This is true.
So, yes. There you go. There you go. I'm sure there's a chess club at Montgomery College. Yes, sir.
Hi there. I'm not entirely certain if I'm addressing this to Councilmember Jawando or to Dr. Felder, but my name is Bobby Bartlett. I teach 7th grade social studies at Montgomery Village Middle School. I'm here because of what I've heard are the board's plans to defund a piece of software called GoGuardian, which gives teachers the option to monitor or direct with fine-tuning students' web usage when the class is on Chromebooks. And I think this would be a bad mistake and a choice that would make it more difficult for students to learn. In middle schools, one of the biggest challenges we have is maintaining students' attention. I don't know if you've heard this, but 12 and 13-year-olds like video games a lot. And for many students, to place an unmonitored Chromebook in front of them is like handing them a Nintendo Switch and insisting that they use it to analyze historical documents. So while MCPS filters web traffic at the district level, kids' gaming habits and workarounds evolve rapidly, and it's important to maintain a teacher-level system of monitoring and guidance to keep students in an environment where they can learn. So at the risk of this not ending with a question, what do you think about that?
that was really good. And so couldn't agree with you more. And just know that, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Know that we are not removing this monitoring tool. And so it won't be Go Guardian next year, but we have found another tool that has the same, and I underscore same functionality, at $400,000 less. And so given where we are budget-wise, we would be remiss if we didn't look into that. And so you will have a tool next year. My hope is that more teachers will use it. I understand approximately 20% of our teachers are currently using Go Guardian. We certainly would want to increase that number, but you will have another tool available.
I would also add that I think new teachers tend to use it more than veteran teachers who kind of have their routines all figured out before this technology was introduced.
Appreciate that. Yep, you may be right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bartlett. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Manchester. I'm a math teacher at Tacoma Park Middle School, and I appreciate the folks that let me cut because my question, cut in line, was actually about Go Guardian. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I just wanted to mention too that 20% figure. Again, I'm not quite clear on the data, but I conducted a survey, and we definitely found that some teachers didn't even have training on the program. Okay. So that is definitely, I guess, then my question to you, Dr. Felder, or concern is to make sure that all staff are adequately trained. We had new educators in our building that said, Go Guardian, what's that? So I guess my question is going to change a little bit, but how do you ensure that all teachers receive adequate training on this new platform? Because I know they are eager to use it.
Yes.
And just before you answer, I'm just being told the interpretation is struggling to keep up. So you don't have to talk super slow, but just half a beat less. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. You bring up a very good point. No sense in having a tool, and we don't provide the professional development and how to use it. And so I can't tell you exactly what that would look like, but know that that will be baked in or built into the rollout of this new tool. And I do think we could have done a better job of communicating the change from Go Guardian to this new resource. But yes, professional development will be critical if we want to maximize the investment.
Thank you. That is fabulous news.
Great.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Chung. I'm the Curriculum Committee Chair for the Montgomery County Council of PTAs. Thank you for having this forum today. My question today is for Council Officer Jawando. As the excellent folks in the MCPS hear from me often, and I thank them for listening to our concerns as the Council for PTAs on proposing this robust budget. The county is recovering from the pandemic, but our schools have not. 80% of our students don't pass the algebra MCAP, half do not pass the English MCAP, and our pass rates for science and social studies are not much better. In our committee's review across the county of quantitative and qualitative data, we have found disparities in what students are learning and achieving in the classroom. And 5 years ago, Johns Hopkins reviewed MCPS's ELA and math programs and recommended that we adopt externally vetted, high-quality instruction materials and develop strong implementation plans. These recommendations track the promises of the state's blueprint. We have amazing, dedicated teachers, but they should not be expected to be superheroes. They need high-quality instructional resources, staffing, and time for professional development to make sure our students are college and career ready and won't have to pay money after high school for remedial college courses. MCPS has made progress on this front in elementary math and ELA, and we applaud them. But we need to continue to make investments in staffing and high-quality instructional materials to meet this vision in all subjects, including secondary ELA and science. Is the County Council considering cuts to the proposed budgets, and if so, what would justify these cuts when our students still have not recovered from the pandemic and we have so much more to do under the Maryland Blueprint?
Thank you. No, thank you for that question. I agree with much of what you said. I think pretty much all of it. And we just started our review of the budget on the Education and Culture Committee. We had an overview. We also got we did talk about that progress in ELA and math in the early grades. I know the Board of Education just got briefed. Did that happen today or will be briefed this week? I don't know. No, it happened is it happening? They were. On Thursday. On Thursday. They're going to be briefed on Thursday on the new data that's coming out, that's out. And I agree with you, we haven't recovered from the pandemic. It's one of the reasons I think we have to focus in on to giving as much support for our school system as possible. That's my view. I'm trying to shepherd that with the view of my fellow colleagues on the council. And so I hope that we can do that, working with MCPS. Again, it's their job, and we're working in partnership to see where there's areas where we can focus, particularly on math and reading, and whether it be those math coaches or the literacy specialists, the other social emotional supports we've discussed. And so again, I'm one council member, I'm the chair of the committee. I don't decide it for the whole council, but I am trying to make sure that we lay out the case over these next 3 budget sessions. Actually, if you combine HHS and education and culture, we're going to have more like 6 or 7 more, where we talk about these needs and how we haven't recovered and we need to make the investment. So we will make a funding recommendation on May 1st to the full council at a level, and I'm hoping that will be a unanimous recommendation from the committee, and then the full council will take it up after that. But I appreciate your advocacy. I don't know if Dr. Felder wants to say anything.
I appreciate your advocacy as well. As I said in my presentation, we're asking for what we need and not a penny more. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jashikar Uppal, Jazz for short. I don't have a question, I have more of a comment. But I did want to start off by saying thank you to all of you, especially Dr. Williams, for putting us students and our needs first and allowing us to talk back and give feedback from our community. I am a student at Montgomery College and one of tonight's advocate for MC student bodies. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and recently moved to Washington to further my education. I am currently working towards achieving my 3rd degree, which is in communication and journalism, my previous degrees being in criminology and psychology, and I do plan on transferring over to UMD for my master's. Again, I want to start off by saying thank you for always supporting MC. I came to MC because I needed affordable tuition, and as an international student, MC's financial aid program really helped me narrow down my decision into becoming an MC student. MC has given me, along with many other students, a great educational experience, along with a great student life experience, and has made it easier for students like me to not only enjoy in obtaining the knowledge, but also the journey of schooling and higher education within itself. Affordable tuition and quality facilities make a huge difference, not just for the newer students, but also returning students like me that have taken gap years to come back. And all I would like to say is please continue to support MC students so students like me, along with others, can continue to have access to affordable tuition, great faculty, and quality facilities. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. I'm sure you agree with all of that.
Absolutely. I +1 that and yes that, and thank you. I would say thank you for sharing your voice, and you are the reason why we do what we do, our students. So.
And I often say it, I'll say it again in this room, Montgomery College is, if not the best, it's in the top, very top percent of community colleges in the country. And I visited a lot of them. So it's a very, very good community college. All right, Mr. Sullivan.
Well, again, I want to thank you guys for having this forum and allowing the community to have input into the budget, and also sharing some of the successes of Montgomery County Public Schools. But one of the things that I went back and looked at, Montgomery County schools are not, how can I say this, not doing as well as we used to. And that's echoed not only by the U.S. News and World Report, but MoCo 360. They said half of Montgomery County Public High Schools see a drop in state education report card. It's the same sentiment has been echoed by WSA 9 TV. It's unfortunately we're not doing again as well as we used to. And what I offer is that there is definitely a problem, and I think that we can't solve the problem until we agree that there is a problem. Despite additional funding in our schools, our public schools are decreasing with respect to the other schools in the nation. Our numbers are going down. I would personally like to see a breakout in the budget for how much money is being spent for DEI, and especially how much money is being spent to train teachers, the trainer cost, the cost to develop and implement these programs, and in comparison, I would love to see how much money is being spent on STEM education. I know a lot of where the money goes is a function of the people who we elect to the school board. And so I would also urge the people here in the audience to look at the people that are going to be who you elect, who you vote for, because it's so important to make sure that you have people that are completely focused on educating our children, not necessarily something that's fashionable. Let's do what we can to make it so that our students excel above all in the basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I see you talking about it, that you're working on it. That's great, but I really think we need to focus education, our education of our children, on the basic science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Felder, do you want to say anything to that?
No, I thank you so much, sir, for your comments, and you are certainly spot on with regard to the fact that we're not where we want to be, and that is work that we're doing and prioritizing in our budget. Our budget certainly prioritizes increasing math and literacy achievement. It prioritizes safe and inclusive learning environments. It's prioritizing recruiting and retaining staff, as well as improving our communication with our families as our children do not come to us as separate entities. They come to us with their families, and so it's a package deal, and we have to work closer with our families. And those are some of the ways that we can increase achievement.
But at the same time, priority, everything can't be a priority. You have to have certain things that are priorities. And I think anything that distracts from our students being the best, the absolute best, I think is something we need to push off to the side.
Right.
Let's focus on what we need to do.
You made your point. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think what Dr. Felder's saying is that it's not an either or.
Important.
And you know, there's a lot of studies, for example, that there's a reason that if you have a teacher that shares the same background as you have a better chance of graduating from high school.
Yes.
So that's why hiring and recruiting teachers of color is a priority, just as it is to teach high quality math. It's not either or.
Right. There's no one silver bullet, sir. I wish there were. Okay, just as long as we're clear.
Hi, I'm Excel Woods. I go to Montgomery College as a theater arts major, and I really do want to thank you, Dr. Williams, for just advocating for this, renovating the theater arts building, because the performing arts department has been nothing but inclusive towards me. It's been nothing but accommodating, and you know, the students, the faculty, the staff, just they really listen to you, and you really listen to us just by being here. And I think just renovating the theater arts building will not just benefit me, but more generations to come to support the arts, and by extension, you know, just all of Montgomery. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to speak to the theater? You've spoken to the theater arts.
I have spoken to the theater arts, but I would want to just uplift and say thank you for sharing. Thank you, Excel, for sharing your voice and your experience, and letting your advocacy be heard for Chairman Jawando and all of us here. Thank you.
We're trying to work together to make sure it gets redone. So thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna and then come back. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Chris Farrell. I live nearby in the Kent Mill area, where a beautiful facility, Odessa Shannon Middle School, opened recently. And the contrast between its opening and being kept under a bushel basket, with the contrast with the lauding of the Aquatic Center, just strikes me as a missed opportunity for Montgomery County Public Schools. When a multi-million-dollar facility opens, it needs to be showcased. The same kind of ribbon cutting that the county council, the county executive, the recreation department leaders participated in at the Aquatic Center. And this gets to a more basic issue of there are so many families, so many taxpayers outside the orbit of public schools in Montgomery County. The school system has to do everything in its power to keep the interest of this economic engine of Montgomery County's history as alive and vibrant as that attracted my wife and myself to this county when we lived in the District of Columbia and were looking where to buy. I just think your budget announcement or one of your public events was held at Odessa Shannon. The Parks Department had a public meeting there, but it's not available under the community use of public facilities because I guess it hasn't been turned over fully to the Board of Education. But when these schools open, they should be big public events. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It is a beautiful school, named after a beautiful person, Odessa Shannon. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting this education budget forum. My name is Brenda Diaz. I'm running for Board of Education District 2, so I'm very happy to be here tonight. I wanted to ask you specifically about how to improve reading scores. So last night we had a forum where the community got together and we discussed many of the issues within MCPS. And so one of the issues we discussed were the reading scores. And I suggested, and I wanted to know what your commitment was to reevaluating how instruction takes place. We know that many of our students are using Chromebooks. I used to teach at Gaithersburg High School, and so there was a dependence on daily use of the Chromebooks once they were introduced into the classroom. Studies show that writing by hand reinforced memory and learning pathways, whereas like daily use of Chromebooks or just digital devices are negatively related to scores on a reading comprehension test. So I'm just wondering, what is your commitment to reevaluating how instruction takes place in light of our reading scores today? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. I believe that literacy is a civil right, and it's one of the most important things that we can ensure that our students are proficient in. I think providing our students with high quality, and I emphasize high quality preschool experiences is critical. Also, as I believe bubbled up in this meeting thus far, high quality curriculum, right? So it's important, and we're doing that work now at the elementary level, and so that's very important in that we have teachers who know their content and how to teach it, that we're also working with our families. Again, it's very complex, but we also know that when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, that literacy is a critical factor there, right? That 2/3 of children that are involved in the juvenile justice system were not reading proficiently by the end of 3rd grade. And same is true in the number, the 70% of incarcerated individuals. And so literacy is absolutely critical, but it's not just in ELA. It cuts across all disciplines. And so I'm very grateful to have, Dr. Peggy Pugh. She is our Chief Academic Officer, and she can provide more in-depth information about the work that the district has been engaging in around literacy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's one of my favorite topics because it's one of the ones that we put so much work into. So 2 years ago, Montgomery County piloted in 9 schools an approach of structured literacy based on the science of reading. And so what that really meant is that students had a real logical, sequential way of learning language around the 5 foundational elements. And it is not Chromebook dependent. It is very much person to person. That we used a program called Really Great Reading, and we saw amazing results in those 9 schools. And so last year, because we thought we could, we brought it to every school. So from 9 to 133. So this year was the first, last year was the first full year of implementation of the full program. So there was training offered to all elementary school teachers in the summer, and then follow up with our reading specialists, some monthly implementation support. And what we're seeing in the data, we have the DIBLS, the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. What we're seeing in the data is that it's moving, and that all students across all subgroups, across all categories, every kind of student is showing growth. So we're committed to following through on that model, to really doubling down. The second piece that we're really excited about that is in this budget is our new CKLA curriculum for, so pre-K to 5, which uses those foundational literacy pieces, builds on them, and is connected to the data. So when a student reads and a teacher is watching them and coaching them, the data aligns and they know how to adjust. So we're committed to early literacy, to answer your question. Excited about doing that in an interactive way.
Thank you.
Just have a follow-up.
I really don't have time. I'm sorry, but you can.
ask about the high school level.
Yeah.
program.
You can connect with her offline. I just want to try to get in everyone else. We only have about 10 minutes, so I appreciate that. So are you in line to ask a question? Okay, so if you're not in line right now, we're gonna cut it there. So, all right, you made it. You made it in. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you so much for hosting this event in the spirit of transparency. I do want to say to the scholars, you are amazing. I appreciate your advocacy. I work at College Tracks. I'm the CEO of College Tracks, and we support first generation to college scholars as well as scholars from low income and immigrant households in Montgomery County. We have a formal partnership with MCPS, and we're in 5 schools. We are on site every day in those 5 schools, and we also partner with Montgomery College, where 40% of our scholars in post-secondary institutions attend. And the need for our services to provide scholars and empower them to access and persist through their post-secondary options is growing. And right now, our numbers are exceeding pre-pandemic levels. And so my question is, and right now, we all know about the Better FAFSA, and it's very difficult to support our scholars in applying for the FAFSA. It is their ticket truly to post-secondary education. And so my question is, how does the FY25 budget, county budget, and MCPS budget address the growing need that scholars are presenting to want to access their post-secondary opportunities? Because we know thousands of scholars are graduating each year without that support.
Thank you for your question and for the program. I've seen it in action. It's a great program. I'll start with Dr. Williams, and then if Dr. Felder has anything to add.
Sure. And I want to thank CEO Inman. Thank you for your partnership. Professionally, as individual leaders in the county, and also the organizations, and I will share. It is about changing when we need to change and adapting. And I know that we've had conversations about your scholars' experiences at Montgomery College through our admissions process prior to the new FAFSA rollout. That has helped us really address some issues. So when I think about our budget and our priorities, it lies really in the experiences of our students, and is wrapped around those transformational aspirations of access, completion, and post-completion success, speaking very pointedly to what you said about access and creating a college-going culture. So we value our partnership. We want to deepen and strengthen our partnership with College Tracks. I will speak very briefly to the FAFSA situation, and we have redesigned our process in terms of we are calling everyone who actually submits an application, which is new, and everyone who has registered. And I am doing my best to make certain that we are, again, reaching out to your team and deepening and strengthening those partnerships, because I do understand and I've seen the immense impact of College Tracks.
Thank you. And one of the scholars you highlighted was ours, one of the alumni, our College Tracks alum.
So thank you so much for sharing, and it was wonderful meeting you tonight. As I shared with you, I'm new to College Tracks, but I know the district is not. And so I am inviting Dr. Peggy Pugh to speak to how we're leveraging
briefly
the program. Please.
Briefly. Another exciting opportunity, though. The blueprint does require that we help prepare all of our students for college career, and we've added community ready because it's important here in Montgomery County. There's a huge initiative to bring college advising to both middle school and high school, and using using a framework for a student to be able to say their strengths, interests, and values, and what that might mean to them for a career sector. We're completely aligned with MC and USG on the 9 career competencies that we're building into our curricula, so that our students know and can verbalize what their interests are. Specifically to FAFSA, I had to fill that out with my daughter. It was a daunting task after having done it multiple years in a row. It's a new format. So we're offering through our counseling office, we have college and career information coaches who support, and then our schools offer sites. And your partnership, you are help us do that at the 5 schools, and we also have ACEs coaches who are working with the students to help them make sure that there's no barriers to them accessing higher ed. So those are a few of the things that we have going.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, sorry. All right. Good evening. I'm sorry. I think I lost the mic.
No, you're there. We got you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So good evening, Councilmember Jawando. Thank you for being here. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Williams for your leadership to Montgomery College. This is a college I attend, of course, and especially for Dr. Felder for your leadership to MCPS community. So I just want to say, want to ask you about the concern about the school safety is because over the past few months, I've seen a lot of news about recent school incidents that's going on in Montgomery County Public Schools. This is some concerns that I think everybody was having with, but I did hear the news about that MCPS is considering adding like the detection system just to make sure that all students are safe. You know, there isn't, so that we want to make sure there's no school incident going on, because there's a lot of students dealing with like the mental health going on. But I do want to acknowledge the MCPS adding wellness as social worker to across school community, which I appreciate, but however, there's still a lot of students dealing with some recent issue about mental health, and this which caused something like some higher incidents going on, and especially removing SROs in 2021. Some people may like it, but also it could be some big concern for some parents is because everyone wants to make sure the students are feeling safe in schools. So this is some of the top concerns that every parent, including the school communities, has been dealing about this. So, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Dr. Felder?
Yes, thank you so much for raising that. It is a concern for us as well. Safety and security is a top priority in the district. At the last board meeting, we certainly delved into that work, and we'll continue to do so. But it is a top priority. We talk about teaching and learning, but it goes hand in hand with safety and security. So thank you for your comments, and know that it is a top priority for the district. It's reflected in our budget as well.
Yeah, and part of the budget that's before us does have increased. We're going to talk about, I think, at our next meeting.
Yes.
Staffing, which includes staffing for more security guards, among other things. So that's going to be a top. We're going to address that at the council as well. So tune into that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Allison Flepson. I'm the parent of two elementary age students. I'd also like to ask how Dr. Felder and MCPS and how the County Council is prioritizing some other really important staffing in our school, which is namely our paraeducators, our substitute teachers, our English language development staff. We know our teachers are paramount and they do an amazing job, but they also need the support of all of these really, really important professionals in our building. I'm someone who answered the call a few years ago to become a substitute when we had such shortages of those, as well as, we had shortages of bus drivers. But I can tell you from firsthand experience that the pay is so incredibly low and the practical onboarding to be a sub is essentially non-existent, that it's not an attractive job to fill, yet it is so essential. Right now at my children's school, like many of the schools in MCPS, we have a lack of subs and kids are like dispersed into all these other classrooms, which then creates a burden for those teachers and those students. So I would like to know more how the budget is going to improve that situation around substitute teachers. Same with paraeducators. We know they are so essential to assisting teachers. If you've been in a first grade classroom where the teacher's trying to deliver a lesson in math and you've got a diversity of needs and you don't have a paraeducator or you don't have enough of them throughout the school, it is incredibly, incredibly challenging, and that means so many students are not getting their needs met. So I'd like to know a little bit more again about how this issue is being addressed in our budget, the low pay of paraeducators and the need for more of them. Hand in hand along with that is our English language development teachers. Again, Dr. Felder, you showed the slide about the increasing diversity in our county and the increasing number of students who need language support. And we know that there is a plan in place brought about by the Center for Applied Linguistics, really highlighting all the deficits in our county around supporting our multilingual learners. That's great there's a plan, but if there's not the money behind it to hire more staff, to support our Department of English Language and Multilingual Education, which needs more staff, more skilled staff to really support the breadth of programs that MCPS is trying to roll out to support those learners, including our two-way immersion programs. We really, really need to put more money, I think, and prioritize these diverse staff in our schools, some of whom have the closest connections to students and really can make a difference in their lives. So I would really ask if you could talk a bit more about that and, again, how we can use those staff to really improve the education outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question and for elevating the important role that staff play in educating our children. As I shared at the top of the meeting, 26,000 staff, and we certainly have prioritized in our budget the need to recruit and hire and retain additional staff in the critical, and some of them in the very critical areas that you mentioned. And so it is a top priority. This is a people business. We can't do this work without high quality staff, but in order to attract and retain high quality staff, we have to ensure that we're paying them well. They have lots of options, and if you live in this county, it is kind of costly. And so salaries and benefits go hand in hand, and we have been fortunate in the past by being able to offer good salaries to our staff, and we want to be able to continue doing it. But it is prioritized in our budget. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Dee, and I am retired from Montgomery County Public Schools. I was an educator, and I worked in central office. And I have a lot of concerns, but I'm just going to point out a couple. The college track program, here's my concern. I think it's a wonderful program, but aren't you all paying a staff member, a college career person at every high school to work with the students? Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Yes. So you have somebody at every high school that is supposed to have that role to work with every student that is on track, to meet with every student and go with them. I know. I did that position for a long time, and I know that it was a great position to work with those students. But you can't pay money for something that's already being invested in, so I want you to be concerned about that. Another thing is I want to just comment about that Go Guardian program, that new program. It's fabulous. I commend you for that. I've had several teachers contact me that there was never any training, so therefore a lot of teachers aren't using it. So make sure that that's something that you invest in. The concern I have is I'm reading about all these things that are happening and that they're all negative. And that breaks my heart. Have worked for a system that it was one time considered one of the better systems. Clarksburg High School area superintendent has allegedly said school cannot suspend students because their suspension numbers are too high. I didn't realize there was a limit to how many students you can suspend. And so I have a concern about that. Also, several students have contacted me and say they can't go to the bathroom at their high school because the bathroom is called the go-no zone. There's drug deals, kids doing drugs, there is bullying, and in some cases, overdoses. How are you going to address that? Because several of these kids are telling me they wait and leave the campus at lunch to go home to use the lavatory. That is a big, big concern. And I want to leave one other comment to you. As a taxpayer in the county, it's very concerning when you see an article that says the Maryland State Department of Education caught Montgomery County Public Schools in fudging their student body numbers. I've seen 160,000 for several years now. And I know for a fact that a lot of parents have pulled their kids out of the system to either homeschool or to put them in private and parochial. So how do you justify that 160,000 students if the Maryland State Department is concerned that Montgomery County is fudging their numbers? In order to have a fabulous school system, we need to have good role models up there that are honest and that are transparent and that are working hard for our student body. It's the most important thing. These kids are going to graduate and go out, and we want them to be successful. That's what every parent, every community member
Absolutely.
wants.
Thank
especially
you.
with the high taxes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And if you have more concerns, Michelle Whitaker, my chief of staff, you can leave them with her. We can, and people online, we will answer all your questions that you emailed in. We will get back to you. Because some, about the student number was brought up, I don't know if you want to address the veracity of that. My understanding is that you all are calculating the accurate number, but maybe I'll defer to you. I just don't want to leave that hanging out there since it was suggested that.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your comments and your considerations. We'll certainly take those under advisement, but Mr. Brian Hull is the Chief Operating Officer, and he can speak to enrollment.
Great, thank you, Dr. Felder, and thank you for the comments and for the questions and comments that everyone shared tonight. Really appreciate the input from the community. So there is no fudging of numbers. The Maryland State Department of Education validates all of our enrollment numbers. There are sometimes, errors made as you're counting 160,000 kids, and so recently, we just approved or agreed with a recent audit by the state where we were, I think it was 2 kids high in one area, 11 kids high in special education. So we're talking about single-digit numbers of students here. And it's just simply calculation errors. Students enroll at different times throughout the year. Again, talking about counting up 160,000 kids. So this is nothing different than what MSDE does with every school district across the county. The numbers might be a little bit higher here because we are so much larger, but again, we're talking about single digits or maybe a dozen students, not anything that would, and then we do, if that is the case, would pay the money back. And so there's certainly no fudging and certainly not anything intentional about the way that we represent the enrollment that we have in Montgomery County Public Schools.
Thank you for addressing that. All right, we're down to our final 3. Yes, ma'am, and thanks for sticking with us.
Good evening, and this really is a beautiful building. I just wanted to comment and say that. My name is Kelly Dominique Hudson. I am a youth mental health first aid instructor and a parent of an elementary school student whose school just transitioned from a Title I to a focus school. And as I understand it, when a school does that, it impacts the staffing. And particularly at this school, it's the restorative justice staff. And so if the county is a restorative justice school system and the mental health challenges of children ages 6 to 17 is rising steadily, how do we prioritize those restorative justice positions to ensure that we are getting what we need?
Thank you for that question. And so the restorative justice positions are prioritized and are reflected in our budget. And so not sure which school you're speaking of.
Strathmore Elementary.
Okay, thank you. And so certainly we'll have conversation with Strathmore Elementary School if that's a need at their school. But it is a prioritized position in our budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. And we also, I'm sorry, we are going to be talking about Title I in the Education Committee as well, so I'm glad we got that. We'll make sure to dig a little deeper for you when we bring it up. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Bowie, and thank you so much for having this forum. I used to work for Montgomery College as a ESL instructor, and it was a wonderful time.
I have a second grader at Thurgood Marshall, and I have a couple of questions. The first one is when we receive emails from the school district a lot about some of the incidents that were like racial incidents and anti-Semitic incidents in the school. I was wondering if there was tolerance education in the budget this year. I was also wondering, my notes. What we were going to be doing, I was also wondering how we were going to address the upcoming teacher shortage that we see throughout the country. A lot of people aren't going into teaching, and that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so with regards to safety, when I talk about safety, and that's part of our budget, safety includes not only physical safety, but psychological safety and emotional safety. We are very committed to ensuring that our schools are inclusive. We welcome the diversity that we have. And we also know it's important that our schools, in order for our students to thrive, it's important that they are in environments where hate is not tolerated. And so that's ongoing work that we're doing. We want to ensure that our children can see themselves in the curriculum and see the world. But again, that's a lot of work and ongoing work that we will and are committed to doing. And so just know that that work is in play, and we will continue to work on doing just that, ensuring that we have a very inclusive environment that addresses any acts of harm, whether they're physical, emotional, or otherwise. And with regards to the teacher shortage, that too is in our budget. And so, again, it comes down to salaries and benefits, as well as being able to provide, and one of the things that attracted me to this district as a teacher was the professional development side of it, right? Because I knew I needed to grow, and yes, I graduated college with a degree, but that just got my foot in the door. And so we need high-quality teachers, and the way to attract high-quality teachers and to continue to ensure that Montgomery County Public Schools is attractive is certainly through our salaries and benefits and all the other supports that we can provide to our teachers. So that too is reflected in the budget.
Yep, and I'll just add briefly, anti-racist audit for MCPS. We had intensive sessions on that. There are a lot of recommendations in that document. There's also an anti-hate task force that the county council convened that made recommendations on various types of hate bias in MCPS, where we had a session on that. There's a lot of recommendations. So those are a couple of things that you can look at online about programs, including curriculum and other adjustments that are in place for that. I just wanted to let Dr. Williams maybe talk about the teacher pipeline briefly, and then we'll go to our last question.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Jawando. And we do collaborate with MCPS already. One of the beautiful components, and you know, but I will share, since everyone is not a former employee of Montgomery College, when looking at the teacher shortage and early childhood education, the teachers, we offer at Montgomery College degrees and certificates, Maryland State Department of Education certifications. We also offer opportunities for credit for prior learning, for some other situations, so that individuals can come into those educational experiences really focusing on and being able to kind of catapult themselves based on the early childhood education and other teaching work that they have done. So we want to continue to deepen and strengthen that partnership so that the teachers who are going to be the individuals who are in the county, right? It's a great kind of pipeline. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, and last but not least.
Hi, thank you so much for being here to listen to our comments and our concerns. I am Maria Tremini Ramirez. I am the program manager at CREA and MCPS. I have also been a teacher for 9 years at MCPS, and I'm also an MCPS graduate. Today I want to talk about CREA, the Career Readiness Educational Academy, which is housed at Edison High School of Technology. We serve over 150 students in English, math, and career readiness classes. Our students are all English learners, and they are between the ages of 17 to 21. They are with us because their pathway to a high school diploma is difficult to attain or it's unattainable. They work, they support their families, and they all want an education. Our program has been downsized for the fiscal year 2025, even though our student numbers have grown. And to be sincere, when I see my students, I see my parents, a hardworking young man providing for his brothers and sister in El Salvador, away from his own parents at the age of 20 for a better life. I also see a young girl who became a young mother and strives to support her little girl, and quitting high school was her only option to be the best mom she could be. If my parents had been offered this program, I know their lives would have been much easier. And that is why I want to encourage you to think about our CREA students. And we need better support with staffing, as we currently do not have a counselor for over 130 evening students. We also need additional full-time educators to better serve our students. We are down to just 2 full-time teachers for our 150 students. So please think about them and of what could be in Montgomery County and our ever-growing immigrant community. And also, I'd like to also invite you, if you want to visit us. We are housed at Edison High School, and we are there from Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your advocacy. Definitely take you up on the visit. I have not visited that program. I've heard about it. I don't know if Dr. Felder, if you want to.
I haven't visited either. I too have heard about it, and I appreciate you elevating concerns. So thank you, and I look forward to visiting and learning more about the program and how we can better support it.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This was a very robust discussion. We touched a lot of topics, and you want to address this topic before we leave, so go ahead, quickly.
If we have time, we would love that. I really want to thank you for coming up. CREA is an incredible program that helps support our students who are second language learners who have had interrupted instruction and who will not be able to get their Montgomery County graduation. They'll not be able to graduate with the rest of their students. We are committed to the program. We have a day program and the evening program. We are actually right now going through the process, as you know, through an external evaluation, and our goal is to make sure that this program can thrive, that we can increase access for our students, and most importantly, the goal of the program is to make sure that our students have a GED, that they are able to get their GEDs and they're able to get our CT certification. And one thing that we're also exploring in making sure that students can get that and can have career options is expanding the idea of making sure that other students who are English language speakers and who might not be engaged in a traditional high school structure have an opportunity for an alternative pathway. So really thinking about what can we do that's no longer traditional, that might not one size fits all, but expanding and thinking about our multilingual learners, thinking about our students who've had interrupted instruction, but then also looking at our students who have been here K through 10 and who are not engaged. And then so being creative and thinking outside the box and making sure that we provide a pathway for them as well. So we're committed to CREA, we're committed to all of our students, and we love the staff that works there, and we will help create the structure that will support the students who are there in the program. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for those who are participating online and MCPS TV for recording this and airing it, and as well as folks on YouTube and everyone in the room. This is a very robust discussion. I know we could talk about this all night. We could keep going, but I want to be respectful of Principal Johnson and her team. I want to thank the security staff that are in the back there. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all. And building maintenance and everybody who's been here, the interpreters. And again, my team Jawando staff who are salaried employees and do not get overtime. So thank you all for staying late as well. And thank you to Dr. Williams and to Dr. Felder for being here as well. So you all have a good night. We are going home.
Thank you so much.